Ok, espera un ratito. Salió caro, pero bueno, vuelva a ingresar.
No,
Okay,
pero
let's
entró.
begin. Let's begin. So, good morning. Nice to see you and hear you again. We are going to start with our grammar lesson. So, I need you to go to your student book on page 87, please. The grammar
With
part.
me, with me.
What? Page 87, the grammar part. Present perfect with since and for. Okay, so we have been talking for the last few weeks about the present perfect, about the structure of the present perfect, about how to form the present perfect and when to use it. So, once again, I ask you, how can you form the present perfect? What is the structure of the present perfect? Not everybody at the same time.
Me,
So,
teacher.
what?
Emily,
Yes, Emily. What's the
uh,
structure of the present perfect, please?
subject,
Mm-hmm.
has or have,
Mm-hmm.
verb in past participle,
Yeah. That's basically
and
the yes, a compliment. Yeah.
and
The compliment
complement.
could be but anything but yesterday, last week, last year, those things. All right. Remember? Because if we use those phrases, those sentences, we have to use the past simple, but in this case, we're talking about present perfect. The present perfect is used to talk about experiences, to talk about things that happened in the past one time and may be repeated in the present. Okay, so we are going to learn a couple of new things. The present perfect using two new words, since and for. I don't know if you have heard these words before. What's the meaning of since? What maybe can you tell me what's the meaning in Spanish of since?
Desde.
Desde,
Yes, very good. And for?
para,
Para.
Mm, it is for is para in some context, but how about in this
Durante.
one? Kind
Teacher,
of.
depends because
Por.
for have some definitions.
Yes, it has many definitions depending on when to use it and where you're going to use it. But in this case, for, when you're talking about for in the present perfect and in this context, you're talking about por. For instance, in this one, I have had my own computer for 3 years. So that means in Spanish, yo he tenido mi propia computadora por 3 años. ¿Ok? Entonces, so in this context, for means por, right? So you give a specific period of time, all right? So who can help me read the next one? And then we will continue learning
me,
Me,
the
teacher.
structure.
teacher. Me,
Yes,
Me,
teacher.
teacher. Me, teacher.
yes.
Okay, it says I haven't bought any football cards for a long time.
All right. Thank you. Who can help me with the next one, please?
Me,
Me,
teacher.
teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I have played the guitar for 2 years.
3 years. All right. Thank you. 2 years. Sorry. Next one.
Me, teacher.
Me,
Mm-hmm.
I have played. I have had this guitar since January.
Since. Remember, it's since. It looks like science, but it's not science. It's since. All right. Next one. Next sentence, please.
Me, teacher.
Yes.
I have had one of them since I was 10.
Good. Next one. My
me,
dad.
Me,
teacher.
teacher.
Mm-hmm. Uh, Whoever said
Yeah,
me first.
me teacher.
Mm-hmm.
My dad has his camera since he was a teenager.
All right. Thank you. So my dad's had his camera since he was a teenager. All right. So take a look at these examples that the book is proposing, and please look at number one and two. So if we already saw these sentences, when can we use since and when can we use for? You see, for it gives a specific time. So you see 3 years, a long time, 2 years. So whenever you're talking about numbers or an amount of time, it could be short or long, you use
For
For
exactly. So yes, number one, we use for with an amount of time, right? Such as a number of hours, months of year or years. Because we are talking about 3 years, I can say I have been working for 4 hours. All right. You see, I'm giving a specific period of time. All right. But I can use the same sentence with since if I change it. I can say, I have worked since 7:30 a.m. You see? So number two would be since, right? So you have to remember these two rules. We use for when we are talking about a specific time, hours, months, or years. Okay, that's the key. When you mention hours, months of, or years, you use
sorry, teacher, what is
for.
the page?
Page 87, please. So, number one, the answer is for, and number two is since. We use since with the time when an action started, such as day, time, sorry, day, date, and age. So you see, like this one, I have had this guitar since January, right? You don't say when in January, you just say since January. You just mention the month, all right? So when you're not that specific, you use since. And when you are very specific, in period of time, you use for. Okay? So now we are going to complete this exercise number 7. Complete the phrases with for or since. Okay? So remember the rule that we just learned, number 1 and 2. And I need 9 volunteers. Who can help me with number 1?
Me, teacher, me.
Yes,
Me too.
the one who said me first, please.
Me. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
is since I was three
Since.
years old.
Remember, since. Repeat after me.
Y-
Since.
Since. Since.
All right. Thank you. Yes, because it's not science. It's since. All right. Since I was 3 years old. Very good. Next one, number 2.
me, teacher.
Me teacher.
Yes. No, who said me first?
For 4 hours.
For 4 hours. Yes. Very good. Number 3.
Me.
Me teacher.
Mm-hmm. Said me first.
Since last month.
Since last month. Very good. Number 4.
Me, teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Me teacher.
Since 3 days.
Are you sure? Remember, when
For
you're
3 days.
For teacher.
for 3 days, I can say, what is, it's not true, but I can say, I haven't had a bath for 3 days. That's not correct. Okay. I mean, that's not true. I just took a bath um, last night. All right. So 3 days for 3 days. Okay. Number 5,
Me
October
teacher.
31st. Yes.
Me teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Since October 31.
Since October 31st. Okay,
31st.
31st. All right. Next one, number 6, please.
Me, teacher.
Yes.
Me, teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Since Monday.
Since Monday, yes.
Me.
Whenever you give a day, a date, or age, that's since. Okay. All right. Then we go to number 7, please.
Me, teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Teacher, what is the number 5?
For 6 months.
For 6 months, yes. Sorry, who asked
Me,
a
Victoria.
question? Victoria.
What is the
Since
what is the answer of 5?
5, since
Since.
October 31st.
Thank you.
All right. Since October 31st, since Monday. Number 7. Once again, I
Me,
think.
teacher.
Yes?
Me, teacher.
For yesterday.
No, we are in number 7.
Me, teacher.
Science.
No. Remember, when you're talking,
For
when you're giving
teacher.
months, for 6 months, if you think in Spanish, 6 months, 6 meses, right? So you can say desde 6 meses, o hace 6 meses, o por 6 meses. You say por 6 meses. So for 6 months. So I can say I've been, I don't know, living here for 6 months. All right. So for 6 months. Number 8, yesterday.
Me, teacher.
Me,
Yes. Hmm.
Um, uh, si- for yesterday.
Are you sure? Do you think that sounds
Since
correct?
yesterday.
science
Yes.
yesterday.
Since.
Since.
Since yesterday. Okay. So yes, since yesterday. So if you change that into Spanish, you will get the answer. Because since yesterday, if you move it to Spanish, you will have desde ayer, right? You cannot say por ayer, right? Sounds weird, right? And now, number 9.
Me, teacher.
Me,
Me,
teacher.
Mhm.
teacher.
Me,
Yes,
teacher.
For a long time.
for a long time. Very good. So you see, the present perfect can be used to talk about periods of time and lengths of time. Okay. So if you take a look at this presentation that I sent you, it gives you the answer and it gives you the rule and some examples. For or since. For is used when you're talking about a duration of time. Example, I've been waiting for half an hour, right? That means that I've been waiting for the past 30 minutes. Okay. So that's when you use for. And now since, a point in time. I've been waiting since 6 o'clock. So you see the difference. You see that there are slight differences to use these two sentences, right? So let me stop the recording. Let me stop sharing my screen to change to Spanish and give you feedback.